So fasting is this amazing tool that we've been talking about, that we've been using to help to reverse diabetes. That's our plan. But there are all these questions that come up about fasting, what type of fast to use, how long should I fast, what should I do during the fast, what should I eat during the fast. But one of the biggest questions I get is about blood sugars during the fast. What happens to my blood sugar as I go through the fast? If I'm on medication and if I'm not on medication, I feel shaky, I feel lightheaded, I feel dizzy. All those questions we're going to talk about right now as we get into our show for tonight. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to put their diabetes in remission, who want to get off of medication, who want to reverse their diabetes. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right here. And we've been using fasting as one of the tools that can help us move in that direction successfully. If you're new to me as well, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I'm happy that you're here. If you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the comments because I'd love to get over to those questions and answer them as we go throughout the evening. As you know how we do it here, I've got some meters, I've got some reports that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute. I've got my meter over here that we're going to look at, and then right below, that's my Dexcom Clarity report that we'll see. And I am right now in the middle of a fast. Well, actually not the middle. I'm close to the end of the fast. As you know, on a weekly basis, I do a 72-hour fast or longer. Last week, we actually did a slightly longer fast. But I am right now, it's 70 hours, 69 hours, actually. A little over 69 hours, almost 70 hours into my fast. And so I've got a couple more hours that will go, and I'm going to show you also what I think I'm going to use to break the fast. I'm planning. I've got my plate over here. I've got a bowl. I've got some things on that plate. So we'll take a look at those together as we get through the night. But before we get there, let's do as we normally do. We're going to go ahead and do a check-in so that we can begin giving you some information about what's going on through the fast. If you are fasting this week, I do want you to go ahead in the chat. Go ahead and put yes. If you're fasting this week, go ahead and put put yes. So if you have fasted this week or currently are in a fast or are planning to fast, go ahead and drop a yes in the comments. I'm going to put yes because I'm fasting. There you go. So I'm fasting right now, so I'm going to drop yes into the comments. And then let's hop over and let's go ahead and we're going to do our check-in so we can talk about how I'm feeling. And there are 3 phases that I normally talk about when I talk about fasting, and they are how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and how I'm feeling emotionally, because those are the 3 areas that tend to give people the most challenges. So physically, how am I feeling physically? Now, I'll tell you today, and so I was, I guess at the time, maybe about 60 hours into the fast. And to this week, more than I have in the past, I felt a little bit more growling, if you will, in my stomach. I could actually hear it. Normally, I don't hear that, so I felt that. One of the things that happens when people feel that is they think they're hungry. So I felt a little bit more of that this week. I did feel a little bit more indigestion. In fact, right now, I'm feeling more indigestion than I have in the past. And it played some tricks in my mind because I'm thinking, okay, I'm feeling a little more growling. I'm feeling a little bit more indigestion. So maybe I should eat something, right? So that's where my brain went. In terms of energy, I'm actually feeling pretty good because I rested well. over the last several days. You guys will remember that we took a trip down to Tampa and came back, and I went to sleep, and so all those things that I've been talking about in terms of resting. But I did feel more of those symptoms today. Lightheadedness and dizziness, did not feel that, except when I was, so in my office, we're cleaning out some things. And so I was bending over some old computers and taking out parts and so forth and getting those ready. And so as I stood up, I did feel a little bit woozy, and I'll talk about that here in just a minute, because when I get into another one of the places where I'm talking about checking in, I'll talk about that. So those were my symptoms. In terms of energy itself, though, I'm actually feeling pretty good, but I did have more symptoms in the physical realm than I have in the past. So mentally, I'm feeling clear. I'm not feeling groggy. I'm not feeling dull. I think I'm thinking well. As I interacted with people in terms of mentation, that was not an issue. Where the issue came, and this is the next one, and that is in terms of emotionally. So one of my team members said to me today, a little bit close to the beginning of the afternoon session. So we come in the morning, we see patients all day, we break for lunch right about noon, and then we come back at about 1 o'clock, and then we see patients. Our last patient typically is about 4:30, or the door closes at about 4:30. And so one of my team members turned to me right about 1:30 or so, and she said, Dr. Woode, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. She said, you're a little bit more, and I'm trying to remember the word she used. I think the actual word that she used was grouchy. I think the word that she actually used, you're a little bit more grouchy today. And as I thought about it, right, the growling in the stomach, the indigestion, I was feeling those symptoms, and maybe I was a little bit more irritated. So what I did was I went and I drank, and I use, I don't have it here with me, but I usually drink water, unsweetened tea. When I say unsweetened tea, I'm talking about artificially sweetened tea, right? So let me say that. So I went and drank a bottle of that, drank some water, and not surprisingly, but the indigestion that I was feeling actually resolved. The growling that I was feeling resolved. And my mood, I felt my mood getting better. And so what I surmised, and as I thought back through the morning, I had not been doing a good job of drinking. As a matter of fact, when she talked to me about 1 o'clock, it was the first time for the day that I drank anything. Okay, so that all translated into, I believe, the symptoms I was feeling and the emotional state that I found myself in. And once I was able to hydrate and I began drinking, then that began to resolve. And this just goes back to what I say all the time. As we prepare for the fast, there are several things that we want to do, but in the fast, we want to make sure that we're rested, make sure that we are hydrated, because if we don't, that sets us up for some not being able to successfully make it through the fast, and it makes it difficult. Okay, so we want to make sure that you remember that those are the places that we can sometimes fall down if we're not careful, if we're not paying attention. And often when we are fasting, because we're not thinking about eating, we also don't think about drinking, right? So I said that several times today as I was talking to several of the patients that were coming in who were in the process of fasting, or in the process of working out a schedule. One of the things I continually said to them was, hey, make sure that you are hydrating, because if you're not hydrating, that can set you up for some difficulty. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and hop over and let's take a look at my meters, my continuous monitor, and my and my finger sticks. As you know, I do wear two continuous monitors. One is a Dexcom and one is a Libre. And let's take a look and see what those are showing right now. And so right now, my Libre, which is a Libre 3, got it on this arm, is 53. That's what that's showing. And if you see down at the bottom, you'll see that at the beginning, probably maybe about 12-ish, there are some white areas, but for the most part, it's been in the red. So the red is indicating below 70, right? So below 70. And let's see what my, let's see what this guy is showing. Okay, and so this is my Dexcom that you're seeing now on the screen. So let's go ahead and, so 77 for the Dexcom, and the Libre is saying 50s. And as you know, sometimes that causes some people to have some discomfort because the numbers are different. Well, let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look and see what my meters are showing. So I've got a Keto Mojo, which gives me both blood sugar and ketones. And then I have a Contour, which gives me blood sugar. So let's go ahead and get those going. So right now I'm grabbing a strip for the Contour. And then we'll start with the test strip for the blood sugar with the Keto Mojo. Let's go ahead and open that up and get that in there. And then my trusty little container here that has all of my, different types of Lansing devices and more strips. Let me grab two of them just in case I don't get a good poke. And these are spring-loaded, okay? So many of you may have the Lansing device where you actually unscrew something and you put a lancet in there, you screw it back on. I either don't use a lancet, one of these, I use just a lancet where I poke my finger myself, or I like these because they're spring-loaded. And basically what you do is you break off this purple top, and they come in different colors. You can have blue and white or purple and white. Basically put that off. And then when I hit this little lever, then the spring comes out and it'll give me a poke in the finger. So I'm going to go ahead and hold this up so you can hear that as I go ahead and press it. And hopefully that gives me a good, gives me a good drop of blood. Let's go ahead and start out with the Keto Mojo. And then over to the Contour. And while those are running, I still need to get another drop of blood because I'll be doing the ketones in just a minute. So 68 for the Keto Mojo, 65 for the Contour. And you will recall that 76 was the Dexcom and the Libre was 53. So 53, 65, 68, and then 76. And, I always tell people that any particular meter at any one time can be 20% different. So if I got a blood sugar with my ketone, as a matter of fact, let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the strip out of the Keto Mojo. And I'm using the same, let's do this. Let's do it this way. So I'm going to use the same drop of blood, right? So I'm not poking my finger again. And I'm just going to take a strip out of the Contour and out of the Keto Mojo. I'm going to grab another strip, and so I've got blood on my finger, so I'm going to pour these out and just grab one. And I'm going to put another strip into the Contour, right? So good experiment. And then I'm going to grab another strip for the Keto Mojo. This is not the ketone one. This is still for blood sugar, right? And then let's test it again. All right, so we're gonna let those run again. So remember 65, 68, I think is what that was. So look at that. The Contour now is saying 70 and the Keto Mojo is saying 58, right? So notice the difference Notice the differences. Okay. And so I tell people often that what we're looking for is we're looking for those general trends. Now, when we're talking about treatment, that's a whole nother conversation. But I want you to know, I wanted you to see what happens if you use the same drop of blood, checking in the same meter. Notice that we got different numbers. Okay. And that's a conversation that we'll need to have. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to take the strip out of the Keto Mojo and go ahead and put a strip in for my ketones. And go ahead and get that started running. All right, and of course, as I do, I'm going to tease you guys because I'm not going to let you see what the final number is quite yet. We'll come and we'll look at that here in just a minute. All right. So while that's going on, let's hop over and let's have a conversation. And so the conversation really is about blood sugar and what happens during fasting. And as I said, I'm at 69 hours right now. And what I want to do is I want to go back and I'm going to look at the last couple of weeks of blood sugars, and we're going to have a conversation about what happens to blood sugar as we fast. Because there is, I think, some confusion about what should happen. So let me do a little back work, and then we'll come and we'll talk about it. So as we're talking about fasting, right, there are several things that happen, but some of the big things that begin happening is what happens during the initial blood sugar dropping. So when you cease eating, those first several hours, 6-10 hours, the blood sugars are going down because you're not putting anything in anymore, and blood sugars begin to drop. Now, here's the kicker. Even though blood sugars are going down, your body still has a lot of sugar in it. In fact, if you have diabetes, your blood sugar can be 200, 300, 400, whatever the number is. And even though I stop eating right now, the body has to get rid of the sugar that's there before I begin seeing blood sugars that are lower. So there are times when people will say to me, I didn't eat anything all day. And I said, well, when you say all day, what do you mean? They said, well, I ate last night and I went to bed about 9 o'clock. I woke up this morning and I haven't eaten anything until noon, and my blood sugar is still 200. And the answer to that question that wasn't asked is yes. That is quite normal for someone who has diabetes, whose blood sugars may be uncontrolled. Because the sugar that you ate from the food last night is still in your body. And remember, as we talk, and we'll make a point here in just a minute, that sugar doesn't go away for 24 hours because your body still has that glycogen that is stored in the blood in the liver. So that doesn't go away for a while. Okay? So in those initial hours of eating, right, the blood sugars may drop, but they don't drop down to zero just because you didn't eat for 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours. Because that process of switching to ketosis happens when the body doesn't have any more sugar or any more glycogen, and that doesn't happen for at least 24 hours, sometimes 24 to 36, depending on what you ate. Okay? All right. So the first thing is this initial step where the blood sugars begin going down, but not to zero. As a matter of fact, sometimes not below 100. In fact, I was talking to someone today, and he was saying to me that his blood sugars stay right at about 110, 115. All right. The next thing that happens is that hormones begin changing. So there are two hormones, two main hormones I want to talk about when I talk about blood sugar. There are several others that we've talked about before, like ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. Leptin is the satiety hormone, the hormone that says you don't have to eat anymore. But two of the hormones that I want to talk about are insulin and glucagon. Insulin and glucagon. So insulin, as we've said before, is that hormone that comes out when the blood sugars are high. So when you eat something that has carbs, though the insulin comes out as a result of the spike in blood sugar. Okay? And when that insulin comes out, its job is to help to bring the blood sugar down into the normal range. Now, let's back up and let's create a scenario. Let's take someone, and I know you may be on insulin right now, but we're going to pretend for now that you're not on any insulin. So when you don't eat, or when you eat, the blood sugar goes up. You're not on any insulin from outside. Your body responds to that blood sugar. It sees the high blood sugar and it produces some insulin, and the insulin comes out, and the job of the insulin is to begin bringing that blood sugar down. And so as the blood sugar is coming down, sometimes people will feel kind of like low energy. That's that process of transitioning almost to going from sugar to burning something else. So as the blood sugar is coming down, because of the insulin, people may begin feeling some fatigue. Okay? As insulin comes down, another hormone, the other hormone, glucagon, goes up, because they are opposite sides of the coin. When blood sugar is high, insulin is high. When blood sugar is low, well, let me go back and say that. When blood sugar is high, insulin is high and glucagon is low. When blood sugar goes down, insulin goes down, which is low, and then glucagon starts to come up, because glucagon says now, hey, he's not eating, she's not eating. My blood sugar is dropping. I need to go find energy to keep my blood sugar up, because that's glucagon's job, is to bring blood sugar up. So in that initial phase, in that transition, those first 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, that's what's going on. So insulin is bringing blood sugar down, but glucagon is coming out and trying to bring blood sugar back up. So people will say, well, if I didn't eat, why is my blood sugar rising? Your blood sugar is rising because that is glucagon's job. Insulin is supposed to bring the blood sugar down. Glucagon brings the blood sugar up. So those are those hormonal changes that you will see there. Okay? We're not going to talk right now about ghrelin and leptin and some of those other hormones that may come out. Just these two is what I want to deal with. So as blood sugars go down, and now we're extending beyond those 12 hours. We're getting to 18 hours and 20 hours and 22 hours and 24 hours. As we get to those longer hours, those longer fasts, now all of the glycogen that's stored in your liver is starting to go away. And we said at 24 hours, 24, 28 hours is when we're going to pretend right there that glycogen is all gone. So there's no more stored sugar in your liver. Now, that's, there may be 99% gone or 98% gone, but for the most part, we're going to say it's gone. And at this time, now the body starts switching over and saying, hey, not only did I try to create sugar with the glucagon, but now my liver has no more sugar, so I've got to go find something else to burn. And that's where we get that fat burning that we talk about. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at some of my reports. And we're going to use my reports as examples for the rest of this conversation. So here is where I am as I'm moving through my fast this week. And by the way, let me just hop over and say hello to one of our community members right here. So I see Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing? He's saying hello. Glad that you are there. Thank you for joining us tonight. And those of you who are over on who are over on Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and all those different places. Thank you for being with us here in this space. And so we're talking about blood sugars. What happened to blood sugars during the fast? What happens to them? And so right now we're looking at my graph. And so I started the fast a little over 70 hours ago. Okay. And you'll see there listed at 0 hours. And so I ate, and you'll see right after I started the fast, the food that I ate caused a spike. That's the yellow that you see there on the screen. So it caused a spike in blood sugars. And then from then on, I want you to watch the blood sugars, right? At 24 hours, the blood sugars are lower. And then at 48 hours, they're kind of heading towards 70. And then into where we are now, closer to 72 hours, they've kind of stabilized right along the 70 line. Okay? We're going to take a couple of different views of this as well, right? So let's take a look. This one we'll come back to in just a minute. But over the course of the 4 days now, so 3 days roughly, that I've been fasting, you'll see that the blood sugars, each of those graphs that you're looking at, the first one, the highest one, is the one that is when I started fasting late Monday night into Tuesday morning. And then Tuesday, you'll see the graph is lower. And then Wednesday, you see the graph is lower. And then finally, you see Thursday's graph, which is even lower. So as I fasted, the blood sugars have been dropping each of those days. And this is another view starting from the bottom. Once again, we get that peak right after I started the fast, because that's the food that I ate. And then perhaps even the body trying to keep my blood sugar up because glucagon is there. And then for the rest of that graph at the bottom, you see the blood sugar starts heading down. There's that slope. And then the next day, Wednesday, you'll see there that the blood sugar kind of stabilizes a little bit at a particular number, and we'll come and actually look at what those numbers are. And then finally over here at on today, you'll see where those are. So let's go ahead, and I want to move over to look at the actual report where we can actually see some numbers. Not that one. Where we can actually see some numbers here in just a minute. There we are. Okay, so this is my actual report. This is live. This is the data that has come from my meter that is right here, and is being projected right here into the report. And so you'll see that my average blood sugar for 90 days is 108. And what I want to do is I want to go down. Well, let's go through this like we normally do. So 108 average blood sugar. I'm in target 89% of the time. And let me do this so you can actually see my mouse. There we go. So 108 is my average blood sugar. 89, I'm in range 89% of the time. That range goes from 70 to 180. My glucose management indicator is 5.9. So if I were to get an A1C, that's what it's estimating that my A1C would be. Okay? All right. But I want to go down and I want to look at what's called the AGP report. And that's what we saw here just a little while ago. So this is where I started fasting. And you'll see there blood sugars, 140s, 130s. Peaked up to about 200, 201, and then it started dropping. So into the 160s, 150s, 130s, 110s, 108, and then it began straddling, the low 100s, sometimes dipping down into the 90s, upper 90s. Right? So that was day one, so 24 hours right here. And then 48 hours right here, so we're down into the 90s. And then for most of today, we've been in the low 100s, 101, 102, 103, and then 90s. up to where we are right now into the 80s. And if we hop back over here, my meter is saying that my blood sugar actually is 78. So over the course of the last several days, the blood sugar has continually dropped over time. Now, I'll say to you, what you're seeing, these graphs that we're talking about, is on no medication. So not any medication, not recent medication, actually no medication for months now. Right? So this is my body doing this on its own. So let's put a pin right there and let's have a conversation. So I said that we were pretending that you were not on any insulin. In fact, in my mind, we're pretending that you're not on any medication. Okay? Now, let's add the medication back in. Let's keep those same graphs in mind. So as you stop eating, the blood sugars are going down because the hormones have changed. Insulin has come out, is bringing the blood sugar down. Let's add your medication back in there. Because if you are on medication and you have not made any adjustments to medication, if your body is able to make insulin, the blood sugar will go down. And the medication that you're on will continue also to drive the blood sugar down. So now you have two things working to bring that blood sugar down. And so that's why if we don't adjust medication during the fasting process, then you can have low blood sugars. And if you look at my numbers, I don't currently feel low because I'm fasting, because the blood sugars have come down, because my body's using fat now to convert it to ketones, and so I don't feel that. But if I were on medication, I would feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, jittery, because the medication is continuing to cause the blood sugar to go down. So often, people are feeling those symptoms not necessarily because of the fasting. They're feeling the symptoms because they're fasting and they're on medication which they have not adjusted. But when I ask people, well, why did your blood sugar go down? They say, because I didn't eat anything. Well, I didn't eat anything, and my blood sugar is where it is, but I don't feel that. I want you to get that point. So it's not because you didn't eat anything why you feel the way you do. It's because you didn't eat anything and you may be on medication that's continuing to push the blood sugar down. And in that scenario, yes, you will feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, palpitations, all the things we associate with low blood sugar. And the blood sugar is going to go lower than it normally would have gone. Okay? So my blood sugars right now, depending on which meter you believe, is anywhere from 58 to 79. And I don't feel that. Okay? All right. So that's one point I want to make, because it has to do with adjusting medication. It has to adjust medication. If you don't, then we get those symptoms that people describe when we talk about hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia. All right. So let's go back to our report. And so that's what's going on with blood sugar. Now, what I want to do is I want to go back and I want to look at my report, or look at my blood sugars from last week. Right? Because last week we did a 96, 93, 94 hour fast. And so at 0 hours, you'll see what the blood sugar is there. And so then we spiked up and then came back down. And then over the course of the next 3 days, so now our blood sugar dropped at 24 hours, at 48 hours, and then at 72 hours. And then for most of that last day, right before I broke the fast here on the show, then my blood sugars were straddling 70, sometimes going below 70, and for much of that day, staying below 70. So let's hop over and let's take a look at what those numbers actually look like on the report. Let's see if I can get that here. So back to my Dexcom Clarity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the daily report. And that will allow us to kind of scroll back a little bit. I think I have this set to 90 days. Let's see if we can get back here. So that was back last Tuesday. And I might have to go back one more day. Okay, here we are. Yeah. All right. So I started that fast on that Sunday before. This is going back too far. So this is June 27th. All right, yeah, there we are. All right, so the Sunday before I started the fast, and so here's Monday, coming into that Monday, and notice that blood sugars are in the hundreds, 90s, as we go through that day. So now let me go down here, and I'm gonna go back forward one, so we could now pick up from where that was, which was down here, right? So Tuesday, notice that. So now blood sugars are in the 80s, 90s, down into the 70s. And then Wednesday, look at that. So most of that Wednesday, and that was the, when we came and we broke the fast here on the show at the end of this day, or close to the end of the day. Notice that for most of that day, my blood sugars are in the 50s, 60s, 70s, low 70s, right? So here's a question for you. Right here, so my blood sugar is low, is down in the 50s and 60s, and then it popped up above 70. Why do you think that is? Well, that happens because, as I've mentioned before, when we talk about blood sugars, when we talk about switching over to ketosis or ketones, where the body's burning those calories from fat, your body's burning fat and is converting it to something called triglycerides. So tri meaning 3 and glyceride meaning glycerol. So it's kind of like having, so there's a component here, right? That's the glycerol, and then there are 3 fatty acids, three fat molecules that are attached to it. So the body breaks those apart, and so now we have those 3 fatty molecules, and then we have this thing called glycerol. Well, the 3 fatty molecules are going to go off. They're going to turn into ketones, right? The body's going to break those down. But this glycerol, you know what that glycerol becomes? Glycerol, right? Glycogen, glucose. So that glycerol is going to be turned into glucose. So even as the body is burning fat and it is using that fat to use ketones, it still has the ability to convert a component of the fat into sugar. That's why the blood sugar actually begins to stabilize at a particular number, because the body still has the ability to make some sugar. Why doesn't the blood sugar go to 0? Because you still have the ability to make sugar from the things that are stored in the body. And I was gonna say from the food, but we're not eating, right? So the body has the ability to make sugar from fat. And that's this idea of the triglycerides. So the glycerol gets broken down and that gets turned into fat. And of course, the free fatty acids, the tri part, goes on to become the ketones. I hope that's making sense to you. All right. So that's one of the reasons why blood sugars don't go to 0. The body has the ability to do that. And why, if you're not on medication that's continuing to drive the blood sugar down, why you don't feel those symptoms as lightheadedness, sweatiness, shakiness, as most people would expect to happen if the blood sugars are dropping. Okay, so today when I was at the office, I pulled my phone out and I showed it to one of the patients, and they were amazed that my blood sugar was 58. And they said, "Don't you feel that?" And the answer was no. Because my body had enough sugar to function if it needed it, but I was actually fully now in ketosis, which is a great place for us to hop over and take a look to see what my actual blood sugars are. Not my blood sugar, but my ketones. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to get my Keto Mojo, which is the app. Get that up. And you see there on the screen is what my Keto Mojo was showing from yesterday's blood sugar. So it was 86 blood sugar and then 0.6 were my ketones. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the meter on right here. And then my Keto Mojo app should begin picking that up. And you'll see it says syncing there at the top. And so 58 was my blood sugar, right? That's what it said. And then my ketones are 1.9. So 58 for blood sugar, ketones are 1.9. And so as we talk about ketones, 0.5, ketones that are lower than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and above 1.5 is considered therapeutic ketosis. So I was talking to someone today in the office, and they were saying that they were burning fat, and they were telling me they were using an app, and so the app was telling them that they were burning fat. Well, the only way that you know that you're burning fat in earnest, right? So yes, you can be burning some fat and not quite be in ketosis. That is true. But the way that you know that you are burning fat, and we have now gone into that process, we've adapted, we are now in ketosis, we are now fully functioning on fat, is if you know what your ketones are. And the only way to know what ketones are is to check them, either with a ketone meter or a ketone breath meter, or with dipping your urine in strips. And I recommend that you get a ketone meter. If you're truly wanting to know what your blood, whether you're in ketosis, I recommend the ketone meter. And that's the one that you see that I use all the time. Now, there are several ones that are out there, so I'm not going to tell you have to get this one, but you do want to get one that does show ketones. And I think Steve is saying in the chat right now that he just checked his ketones and they were 1.7. So look at that, Steve. We're close to each other. 1.7 and 1.9. And I believe, Steve, remind me and just put yes. Well, which ketone meter do you have? I think you have a Keto Mojo. Remind me, yes, right? So just type the name of the one that you're using in the chat. Okay, but that's my recommendation, that if we really want to know if we're in ketosis, that we get a ketone meter. Now, the strips work, and the if you use the breathalyzer, that works as well. But there are some issues with those. I did a show where we actually talked about the different ways of checking ketones with ketone meter, the strips, and with the breath. So go back and watch that. But however you're going to do it, you want to make sure that you are checking ketones, because that's the only way to know that you are in ketosis. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's take a look at the graph. And so here, if I look at my actual graphs, right, so before we were looking at the numbers, the tan line those are blood sugars, and then the turquoise line, those are ketones. So as my blood sugar has gone down, right, and let me see if I can expand that a little bit. There we go. As my blood sugar has gone down, my ketones have gone up, because as blood sugar goes down, insulin has to go down. And remember, insulin and ketones can't live in the same space. So as insulin goes down, then my ketones begin rising to where you see them right now at 1.9, and then blood sugar down here at I think 58. It was 59. Right? So I checked it twice. So let's see which one it is. Probably this one down at the bottom. I can't get it clicked. But yeah. All right. All right. Okay, so Steve's saying that he bought a Keto BM. Okay, yeah, Keto BM. So like I said, there are lots of different ketone meters out there. So I happen to use the Keto Mojo. I liked it when I saw it used I saw it demoed. I like it. It was accurate, and so that's the one that I currently use. But there are several out there on the market. Okay, now let's take a look because I want to show you what I have on tap that I would be planning to use to break the fast. I think this is what I'm going to use. I may have some other stuff, some other things, but so as you know, I am a nut-aholic. So I love cashews and almonds are my favorite. So here's what I did, right? I went to the grocery store. I went to Sam's, and they have a mixed nut. So not just almonds, not just cashews. So I got one of the mixed nuts. I'm hoping that helps me kind of deal with my fetish, but that's okay. So anyway, so that's what you see here. And I'm actually reconsidering, because I'm not breaking it here on the show, right? Because I've got another hour, a little hour plus, before I get my 72 hours. So right here, so I have these. The reason I'm reconsidering is because the blood sugars will spike up based on those, what you're seeing there on the screen. Okay, and actually, where am I? I'm not on the screen right now, am I? But that's okay. That's all right. Let me see. Let me use this one. There you go. I think you can. Yeah, you can still see me, and now you can see everything. So, so that's what I have here. This is mixed nuts. They have cashews, almonds. They've got some walnuts in there. They got some macadamians, I think. But anyway, a bunch of different nuts. So I'm gonna hopefully try that. Probably not to break the fast because I'm still trying to remain in some ketosis. But here on the plate, I've got cheese, and cheese is my go-to when in terms of fasting. Cheese and eggs, those are my go-to things. So right here I have this is some smoked Gouda. This is extra sharp cheddar. And these are just some chunks of Parmesan that I bought. And then right here, this is grilled nuggets that come from Chick-fil-A. Okay, so all three of these are from Sam's, right? Smoked Gouda. I forgot what brand it is, but this is the one that comes from from Sam's. This is extra sharp cheddar, and this right here, this is Parmesan. So this is probably what I'm going to use to break the fast. I may change up and maybe do some eggs. I did buy cauliflower because I was going to make cauliflower pizza, which is why I got all the cheese. But that's my plan. And then let's see. Looks like we got another one of our community members that just hopped in, and. So Steve said that he does like the Keto BM that he got. So good, Steve. Great. And then Jennifer hopped in. Jennifer saying, howdy y'all. Hey, Jennifer, thanks for coming through. And she said, I completed a 72-hour fast this week. Felt great. Yes! Awesome. Congratulations. That's amazing. Now, as I was in the office today, and I actually ran into a friend of mine. It was a physician here in town, and I was telling him about the fast. And there is this clarity that comes in terms of mentation. Of course, we talk about the weight, and so his comment to me was about the weight, right? So we talk about blood sugars and so forth, but weight is a big one that a lot of people will talk about. And so don't forget that as you are in the fast and as the body is burning fat and as the body's converting that to ketones, we do see very significant weight loss, right? And I tell people you should be good weight loss or safe weight loss is what we talk about. That's about half a pound to a pound per week. And if you remember when I was talking earlier in the year My goal was from March of 2022 or 2023 to March of 2024 was to lose 52 pounds, and that was 1 pound per week. And that's the reason, because I was keeping in that range. Now, as you are fasting, you will probably lose weight faster. Let me say that. You will probably lose weight faster. You will probably lose anywhere from 0.8 to 1.2, 1.3 pounds per day of fasting. I don't know if you know that, right? Anywhere from 0.8, but let's make it even wider. So 0.6 to about 1.3, 1.4 pounds per day with fasting. The first 48 hours, you're going to lose a lot of water weight. Right, so a lot of what you lose in the first 48 hours, if you're doing extended fast, and as you get into those longer fasts, then yeah, that's the rate at which blood sugars, or the rate at which your weight will go down. And so we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what are goals for the fasting process and where we should be and blood sugars and so forth. As a matter of fact, in our fast last night, we talked about the mindset that it takes to be successful in fasting, and part of it was setting goals. Okay, so I've got some goals that I'm working on, some goals that, right, I talked about body sculpting because we talked about calories earlier this week. If you've not done so, go back and look at our show from Monday. So I'm in the body sculpting phase right now. So that's what I'm working on. So I've gotten down, relatively speaking, to close to my goal. And so now I'm saying, okay, how do I maintain my muscle? How do I sculpt some of the places that I want to sculpt? Because now, there's some skin that I've got to get rid of and some tightening up that I've got to do. So all those things come in the process, but it comes as a result of fasting. All right. So people say, what are you doing? And I say, I'm fasting. How often are you fasting? Once a week. How long are you fasting? Then we get into the length of fast, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is that you are consistent, and if you are consistent over time, you will see that those blood sugars will come down. So how does fasting affect blood sugars? That's what happens. As you fast, that first 24 hours, the blood sugars, the first 24 hours, it takes 24 hours for you to deplete the stores of glycogen that are in your liver. And then beyond that, now your body will begin bringing those blood sugars down. They will stabilize, particularly if you're not on any medication that's continuing to drive the blood sugar down. The reason a lot of people feel the symptoms of low blood sugar is because the medication is still causing blood sugars to go down. And that's why it's important to adjust medication. All right, because if we're not careful, then that we will think that the fasting is doing it. And I want to convince you, it's not the fasting. The fasting is not putting any calories in, not putting any sugar in, but the reason the blood sugars are continuing to go down and you're feeling the shakiness is because the medication is continuing to do that. Okay, awesome. All right, let's see. So Jennifer says she had her lab results this week. March 2023, her BMI was 48.4. BMI this week was 33.2. What? Oh, Jennifer. Woo! Yes, that's what I'm talking about right there, y'all. Look at that. I mean, I love this space because when we get to see stories like that, when we get to see results like that, right? We know, because now we know Jennifer, right? So Jennifer's one of us. So when she succeeds, when she tells this story, my heart's just jumping right now because she's part of this community. And that means if Jennifer can do it, you can do it. If Steve can do it, and Steve has shared some of his story here at different times. If Steve can do it, you can do it. This is not something that, only certain people can do. And I tell people say, well, I can't fast. Everybody And there, we gave some caveats, right? So pregnant women, women who are breastfeeding, people who've had eating disorders, they should do it under supervision. But everybody should be able to fast for at least 24 hours. And when you are doing that, look at the results. And look at what Jennifer said. She said in March, her BMI was 48.4. And this week, her BMI is 33.2. Man, Jennifer, congratulations. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. That is amazing. We're going to get you on here, Jennifer. And get all of you guys on at some point so we can just talk about it. And you can share some of your story. That is amazing. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Okay? All right. So as we are moving through the fasting process, I really want you to understand what happens in the body as we're fasting, right? We've talked about autophagy and we've talked about ketosis and all that. But one of the most important questions I get is about sugar. What happens to blood sugar? Right. So what I usually talk to, and we had this conversation several times today, several times this week, is what do I do with medication? We did a show where we talked about adjusting medication. Make sure you're touching base with your family practice or with your healthcare team, right? To say, hey, what do I need to do? If you're one of my patients, we talk about it all the time. Right. In our community meetups, when we do those, you can come in and we will have some discussion over those as well. So make sure that you are talking about adjusting medication. But what I usually talk to my patients about and my clients is that the day before they're going to fast, that they decrease their medication that night. So for example, if I'm going to fast starting on Tuesday, then Monday night, if I'm on insulin, I may not take insulin. Or if I'm on a secretagogue like glipizide and glyburide and glimepiride, I may not take that night. And then, of course, all day during the fast, I'm not taking medication. And then the morning after I break the fast, and right now I'm talking as though it's a 24-hour fast, right? So the day before, all the day of the fast, and then the morning following the fast, no medication. So now we're talking about almost 2 days of no medication. And if we're careful, the entire day following the fast, we may not need medication. But we have to make sure that we are monitoring our blood sugar. That's why I love the monitors that we have. I love the Libre. I love the Dexcom. There are other monitors that are out there. So these are not the only ones, but they are the ones that I use. As a matter of fact, personally, these are the ones that my physician prescribes for me. Okay, these are the ones that I have as part of my prescription, part of my care plan. There is, if you don't have one, this summer, a over-the-counter continuous monitor is coming out. Just keep an eye out for that, and I think that would be a great place for you to be in terms of using it. All right, let's see. Let's make sure that I got, see if there are any questions out there. If you do have questions, drop those in the chat, whatever platform you're on, so that we can get to those, and we'd love to answer those for you. Okay? All right. So tonight, I want to focus on a couple of things, and normally I go through the process of talking about our platform and so forth, and I am going to mention that here in a minute, but I want to spend some extra time tonight talking about the HEAT model, right? And you hear me say it all the time. This week, several times, I was having a conversation. As a matter of fact, I did a talk to a group at our church last night. And then last week, I did a talk to another group. And then last month, if you remember, I did a talk for a men's group in Florida. And I can't tell you the number of times as I'm having conversation and I'm going through the HEAT model that I see people's heads just nodding because they're acknowledging that the HEAT model is fitting their life so well. Remember, the HEAT model gives us the triggers, those triggers that push us to eat when we say we're not going to eat. It pushes us off of our diet, pushes off of our meal plan, and it pushes us in a direction that takes us away from success. And the HEAT model says that we eat, and the things that trigger us fall into 4 different categories. They are habits, emotions, access, and taste. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. So habits, those are those things that we form, those routines that we are in, right? We eat because it's lunchtime, not because we're hungry. We eat because we go to the movies and we have to have popcorn. We eat because we get together with friends, or we stop off at somebody's house and they offer us something. We eat because of habits. I tell the story that I went to the movies and I'm sitting in the movie watching the movie. Before I realized that I'm putting my hand in popcorn and eating it, I didn't even remember that I stopped at the concession stand to get popcorn. But it was just the natural thing to do, because when you go to the movies, you eat popcorn. So we eat because of habit. We eat also because of emotions. We eat because we're happy, we're sad, we're bored, we're tired, we're fatigued, we're anxious. All of those emotions will push through our decision to not eat something. It's kind of like being on that roller coaster, right? So the point of the roller coaster is you get to the top, the pinnacle, the car goes up, and it gets to the pinnacle. And when you're at that pinnacle, when you're at the top of that roller coaster, the car is coming back down the other side. Now you could scream, you can shout, you can yell, you can try to grab on, but the car is coming down. And the same thing with emotions. We allow the emotions to get so high, we get so tired, so fatigued, so anxious without dealing with them, that when we get to the top, now we try to stop, and we can't stop it because the car is coming down on the other side. And it will blow through any decision that we've made about eating, any decisions that we've made about the type of things we're eating, any decisions we've made about fasting. It will blow through. In fact, just this week, right, and you heard me talk during my check-in, I was saying that one of my team members said I was a little bit more grumpy. And during that grumpy period, as I think back to it, I was thinking, okay, I need to get something to eat. And even as I was on my way home, I stopped off to get something for my son. So he wanted some Chick-fil-A. So I got that. And I went and I got it. I put it in the car. And as I'm driving, I'm smelling it. Right? So there's emotions. They will push through. We eat because of habits. We eat because of emotions. We eat because of access, because things are around. And this is one of the reasons that I've avoided bringing nuts into the house. So cashews and almonds. Right? So I am attempting something different, right? Different type of nuts. We'll see what that does. But we eat because things are there. You walk by the kitchen, you walk by the pantry, and you see that bowl of fruit, or you see that candy bar, you see that bag of chips. You're not hungry, but it actually happens to be there, and so you grab it and you eat it. And we eat because of taste. In the office, often, I hear people talking about how much they love a particular food, or that food is causing them problem. And it's not the food, because we're not chasing the food, we're chasing what the food does for us. We're tracing the emotion that it brings, or the emotion that it calms, or the emotion that it helps avoid. We're chasing the memory of that time when we went to that place where we ate that thing and we felt that way. The perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat, the bliss point. And that bliss point is incorporated into our memory and into our experience. So every time we eat that thing, it takes us back there. So we eat because of habits, emotions, access, and taste. And so emotional intelligence and mindfulness and self-awareness puts us in the position to be able to manage heat, to be able to manage those habits that we formed, those emotions that push through our decisions, the access that we have to know ourselves so that we don't put ourselves in those positions, and the taste, understanding the memory, understanding the calm, understanding the avoidance that's coming from the taste of that food. And so if we can harness those things, if we can understand those things about ourselves, then we can deal with the heat model. We can deal with the heat. We can deal with those triggers. And so I want you to understand that you have the power, you have unlimited potential to make change in your life by education, empowerment, and encouragement. Just like we're here on the show, the power that comes from those three, the triple E formula for success, as I say here on the channel, right? We educate, we empower, we encourage. We educate with the shows and the podcasts and the blogs. We empower with the tools that we learn, right? The heat model, how to fast, how to be emotionally intelligent, how to create a menu. And we are unlimited in our ability to be encouraged, just like Jennifer just did, just like Steve did, by encouraging us with their stories, with the community that you are a part of. And so here I ask you all the time that I want you to join the challenges. Don't just let the things that we talk about be a video that you watch. Begin implementing them. Every month we have a challenge that we give, and I want you to be a part of it. In January, it was to figure out what your why was. What was the reason? What is the reason why you're doing what you want to do? What is the reason that you want to be healthy? Do you have some trip that you're planning? You're retiring and you want to be finally able to travel with your spouse. You've got a granddaughter, grandson, somebody who you want to see walk down the aisle. You've got some occasion. What is the reason? Maybe you just want to be healthy. Why do you want to be healthy? What is the reason that you want to be healthy? And then in the month of February was to begin learning how to fast, working your way up to be able to fast for a 24-hour period once a week. And that is the goal, 24 hours. Now, we have gone beyond 24 hours, 48 and 72 and even 96 in some cases, right? And it depends on what your goals are, but begin learning to fast 24 hours. If you're not there, that's okay. Let's work our way to that. And then figure out which of the heat model, which of the heat triggers is yours. Is it habits, emotions, access, or taste? Mine, I've got 3 of them. E-A-T, emotions, access, and taste. All of those. If I'm not careful, if I'm not aware, if I'm not mindful and self-aware, if I'm not practicing emotional intelligence, then I can blow through my decisions. Last night, I was sitting at the table with my wife and son as they were eating. And I was tempted to eat. But I had to process. I was like, why was I eating? It was a social cue. It was the fact that they were eating. It was the fact that I wanted to be close to them. It was the fact that we use food for community. And I was able to process that and deal with that desire for connection in a different way. All right, so which one is yours? And then create a menu. Learn how to make food, how to make menus, how to create foods that fall into the healthy category. And this was our challenge in the month of April, to be able to create foods that, it was whole foods that minimized the processing, did not have any added sugar, that had healthy, non-starchy and starchy vegetables, healthy protein, lean fats, healthy protein, that was tasty and that had the appropriate portion sizes. In the month of May, find someone to mentor. Don't just keep this to yourself. There are over 1 billion people on the planet that either have diabetes or have pre-diabetes. You can be a voice of change. Join the challenge. And then just like Jennifer was saying, she got her lab work done. The month of June was to get labs done so we can check on those things that we need to. We can screen to make sure we're not having any complications. And then this month, add a exercise routine. As I told you, I'm working on some sculpting things that is going on here. So that's part of my routine, right? I'm walking and also I'm doing some sculpting, some body sculpting, because I need not the whole 6-pack. I just need this one right here. Well, that's where I'm starting. Okay, so join the challenges when you come on. And then Not just join the challenges, but also tell your story when you show up. Just like what Jennifer was telling her story, that she was being successful. When we hear your story, we know that we can do it. When we hear challenges, we know we can come around you and support you and encourage you, and we know that we're not alone. And then invite someone. Don't just keep this to yourself. Let someone know what's going on here as we are moving in the new year direction. Be the voice for change for your family, for your community, for your church, for your doctor's office, for your friend group. Wherever you are, you can be a voice of change by inviting them to this space. All right? Awesome. All right. Well, I am glad, always happy, always excited to be in this space with you. Just a reminder that we do have a new feature that we've added to our program, and that is This Week in Review, which is a recap, a recast with commentary of the shows that we do through the week. It airs 6 o'clock on Sunday morning, 6 o'clock Central Time, Sunday morning. And I want to make sure that you know that it's there and that you avail yourself. Point people to it. Let them know, hey, if you missed it during the week, come on. We love you to be here on the live. But if you missed it, you can join us on the This Week in Review. Okay, make sure that you get over there. All right, all right. Well, y'all, it is another one of those nights where we get to enjoy, and it's let's see, 11. Okay, so I've got about 45 minutes or so to break my fast. I think I am gonna break it tonight. I was planning to maybe go a little longer, but I'm gonna break that tonight. We got some things tomorrow, but we'll come on and we will do a check-in anyway. Well, I shouldn't say anyway. We will do a check-in as we go through our Friday check-ins as we normally do. Well, I am once again excited to be here with you, and we are excited for the benefits that you're getting, the results that you're getting, the successes that you are seeing in your metabolic health. As always, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. We'll see you tomorrow at the check-in, Sunday morning at This Week in Review, and then next Monday we'll see you right here on the show, 7 p.m. Central, and for Dwain Woode, MD. Good night, everybody.